terrible.
Yeah? How
This
come?
country is terrible. The people are not friendly. The city is dirty. I'm having a terrible time.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. It's well, I mean, I always heard Korea was fantastic, so I just had never had a chance to come here before, and it's exceeded even the already high expectations I had. It's a beautiful city. People are amazing. The food is even better than I heard, and this conference is great. For those of us in California, where I am most of the time, Korea is a bit opaque, right? It's sort of a closed market in some ways. We know there's a lot going on in crypto. Till recently, it was sort of watching from afar, but the community's opening up. It's great that Koreans are traveling more in crypto. It's great that they're bringing people like us in to get to know everybody, and we're making some investments here, and it's just great. Yeah.
Yeah, I must say, a lot of the Koreans were really excited to see you on stage for the first time. So
I find that hard to believe.
No, actually,
Yeah.
I've spoken to a lot of them. So
Really?
yeah,
Yeah.
I do the whole community thing for our conference.
It's great that they're excited that I was on stage.
So
I'm actually more interested though in meeting the Korean entrepreneurs. So there's quite a few of them here. Like I said, we've made I think 3 investments now, and we're meeting more. It's just this is a very special place for crypto, isn't it? There's
it really is.
and there's nowhere else in the world quite like it. So yeah.
I completely agree. That's why we chose the place to do the conference too. So moving on from that,
Your next you do them all over the place, don't you?
yeah, we do them in Bangkok, in Japan, in Tokyo,
Yeah.
and Korea.
And when's the next one?
November 26th and 7th, 27th.
And is it in Thailand or where?
Bangkok.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hope to see you there.
Yeah. Cool. I've never been to Thailand either. So.
Oh wow. Okay, you're missing out, I'd say, especially food-wise.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. Let's see. Well, like a lot of people, I bought some Bitcoin a few years ago, like 2013, and just sort of sat on it. And I did that mostly because I was in technology, and some of the companies were getting into crypto, so I needed to be sort of aware of what was going on. So Coinbase and stuff was coming out. So I bought some Bitcoin, sat on it. Then I bought a little Ether and sat on it. But I wouldn't say that's getting into crypto, right? I mean, I kind of forgot about a lot of it. When Monero came out, I bought a bunch, and actually it ended up being like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Monero I found in a random wallet one time that I just bought sort of as an experiment to see what was going on. But last year I got serious about it when I met a company that was doing an ICO in Silicon Valley. And I was very skeptical about what they were doing, the fact that I would be buying something but not getting equity in return. And I think everybody goes through that stage as an investor. But I went ahead and did the deal. It was proppy, made a lot of money, and then started doing a bunch of other deals. But my venture fund wasn't really set up to do these kinds of deals because venture funds, you can't really recycle capital. You make money, you give it back to investors. So I realized I had to start a hedge fund. So I decided late last year to raise a hedge fund. I did that pretty quickly and launched that in December. Like, yeah, the tribalism in this industry is insane. So there's Bitcoin maximalists, but everybody agrees like, XRP sucks, and I don't really get it, right? I mean, they're a legitimate company, they don't pretend to be something they're not, and they're really good at one thing, moving money fast and cheap. And it's fantastic, it fills a big need. And for a hedge fund like us to be able to denominate in Ripple and XRP, I just did the same thing, is really, really, really good. When we did our first close, we moved north of $50 million into the company in Ripple, in XRP, in like 2 seconds, and it cost 30 cents. Now, that is amazing. There's no way to do that with fiat or Bitcoin. There's just no way to do it that fast and that cheaply, and so it serves a really useful need for us. And then also when our LPs eventually redeem, hopefully never, but when they want some of the money back, we just send it in XRP again, and there's no 3-day wait for international wires or 1-day wait for US wires. We're not paying wire fees and all that. It's just, I don't understand why that's hard to understand. And so the religious wars aside, the tribalism aside, it does some things really well, and we love it for that. That being said, just because we're denominated in XRP, I'm not a special pleader for XRP. I don't work for them. The company itself is not our LP. Other people who had XRP are. I like them, I think they're great, but they're like less than 5% of our asset base at this point. Like, we do invest in XRP, but most of our investments are in other things. Yeah. There's going to be ups and downs, but I have a pretty good idea in 10 years of what we're going to be. And I want to be in the middle of that. And so, yeah, this is a buying opportunity. It's not a time to panic. I'm old enough to have gone through some pretty major market crashes, and I've seen that is the time to buy. And so I have been putting, I was like 20-ish% of my net worth was in crypto in December. It's like 50% now. I have been piling money into crypto this year. So I'm even like more invested than I was before. Millennials don't know anything. Look, I think it's more interesting to think about like, is it good for people in Venezuela, right? Argentina. In the US, we have a fairly stable currency, and it's very, very interesting. But if I lived in a country where we didn't have a stable currency, it would become almost a matter of life and death in some cases to be invested in cryptocurrency. And that is much more of an interesting conversation to me than what some millennials think about anything, to be honest. So yeah. Sorry, are you a millennial?
Oh yes, I am.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
You don't have to be.
No, present company excluded. I care what you think. But how old are you?
25.
Oh Jesus. Yeah, I don't care what you think about much of anything. On stage, I was talking about I'm an investor, but I've been an entrepreneur most of my life before that, and so I've raised money, right? And I've gone to VCs, venture capitalists, and I've had a pitch deck, on Sand Hill Road in Silicon Valley 20 years ago, and presented my case and tried to get them to say yes. And in one case, I raised $20 million in venture capital. Other cases, I failed. It sucks, There's a few gatekeepers, and they're always looking for a reason to say no. And that's me as an American white male that has the highest chances of getting funded. It's rough. If you're a minority in the US or you're a woman, it becomes almost impossible to raise money from venture capitalists. That's starting to change slowly. But instead of changing that industry slowly, this has just been a complete reboot. And so anybody around the world can raise money, and you don't even have to go to Silicon Valley. There's no reason to go to Silicon Valley to do it. That's what I was talking about. So fuck those guys like trying to stop you from like doing what you want to do. All you have to do is convince anyone to give you the money, and if you can convince them, then you can go follow your dream and see if it works. Yeah.
But then how do you feel about venture capital stepping into the blockchain industry?
Well, so I talked about this on stage too. So look, last year it was actually hard for funds to get allocations because these companies do a little bit in private sales, but it was these mass public sales that were so great because you get lots of small buyers of your coins, and that's good for the ecosystem. But the regulators have shut that down largely just through threats. Sometimes they haven't even had to make regulations. So that means that people raising money have to go to people like us that are considered accredited or investors in the U.S. Or qualified investors, which is an even higher bar, because there's less liability from taking our money. And so it's been great for us, but I think it's terrible for the industry. I think it'd be great if somebody who has a net worth of $10,000 wants to invest a few $100s in a new coin and does the research online, maybe even meets the company at a gathering. Why can't they spend $200? Why is it like, and I can put in millions and the government's fine with that, but somebody who has $10,000 and maybe wants to make a better life for themselves, no, they're too stupid or too poor, so we have to protect them from themselves. And some of the fellow panelists were saying that actually makes me angry. Right? Like, they're not stupid or poor. They might be poor, but maybe they're just trying to become rich. Why do I get all the advantage of being already wealthy to get more wealthy? So it actually makes me super angry about this. And I wish that we could find a way for people to put money who don't have a high net worth, that want to put $5 or $500 or $5,000, whatever that number is, an appropriate amount of their net worth into it. Maybe they'll end up having a better life for themselves or their children. So,
but that's become difficult recently. Right?
It doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, so what you have to do is you can do so. Okay, there's some things you can do. So, like, again, though, you generally have to be accredited. But like, there's a company called Bitwise in the U.S. I'm not related to them at all. Like, I don't have any investment in them. But they have an index fund, so you can go to them, and they're in the top 10 cryptocurrencies, and they sort of market weighted average, and you can give them a small amount of money. I think in that case, though, you do have to actually be accredited, which means you have to have a fairly high net worth or income. The ETFs are coming, though. When the ETFs are coming, anybody that can actually buy stock on a normal stock exchange can get into crypto. So that'll be good. Yeah. But they still can't get into the high risk, new coin offerings. And again, just because somebody doesn't have a lot of money doesn't mean they're any dumber than somebody who has money. And they might make great investment decisions. So, like, paternalistic need to protect people from making these dumb decisions, right? But there's no paternalistic need to stop me from making dumb decisions. I make some dumb investment decisions sometimes, but on average I do okay because I'm good at this. But like nobody's being paternalistic towards me. Nobody's trying to protect me from myself, and it's okay. I'm okay with that. But why, just because somebody doesn't have a lot of money, why are we trying to protect them from themselves? Like that, I think that's evil. right? I think it's good-natured evilness, but I think it's fundamentally evil.
Yeah, so the rich just get richer and the poor get poorer.
Well, that's the history of the world,
That
right?
is the
But
history
last
of
year
the
we had
world.
this brief period of time where anybody, a 17-year-old kid in Ukraine who did the research and realized this is a good idea, could get in and put a few $100s into an ICO and make millions of dollars because he saw something that no one else saw. And the government shut that down to protect him from himself. Fuck the government, right?
Seriously.
Look, I say I don't want regulation. I know there will be regulation. Regulation's okay. I mean, it's better than what we have now, which is in the US, which is sort of a lack of regulation, but these vague threats where we all spend all of our time going, what does the SEC want? What are they gonna do? What's the utility token? What's this? And it's like, just look, it's like, it's just, that's the worst possible situation because now we have a freezing of entrepreneurship and tokens in the US. Not a freezing, but very slow level of innovation compared to Asia. We also have the fact that none of the good projects will take U.S. investors, which for us, we're an offshore fund, so it's fine. But like, so investors are largely, individual investors are shut out of these deals, and it's a total disaster. And so what I really would like to see is no regulation. But if we're going to have regulation, we need to have it, right? And the SEC needs to make their move. They're moving super slow. What I'd rather do is make rules. They can change them over time, but at least so we know what the rules are, so we can. That's my biggest concern. Look, there's always a lot of fraud. There's a lot of bad projects out there. That's never going to change. It's just that's our job is to look through the bad ones and find the good ones. What I'm excited about is I'm excited about meeting entrepreneurs from India and Korea and South Africa and Bulgaria. And we've invested in projects in all those countries, and seeing them follow their dreams in a way that was impossible 10 years ago. It'll be interesting to look back, but I believe that if we're still thinking about the idea of how big the cryptocurrency space is, today it's hundreds of billions of dollars. I think we're definitely in the very, very high trillions sooner than even 10 years. If I'm wrong on that, I've made a bad career choice here. Other than that, I don't know. If you think back, like, when they used to think that we'd be driving, rocket cars now, just the future never is exactly what we think. It's hard to look. I think if you can even look a year out, you have a huge advantage. So I don't know. I won't pretend to know what 10 years from now looks like, but it's going to be fun, I think, being in the middle of this industry and watching what happens.